If you work as a manufacturing facilities engineer, installing a new piece of equipment can be as complex as the machinery itself. From prep work to alignment and testing, it's your team's job to put it all together. That's why it's good to have Grainger on your side. With industrial-grade products and next-day delivery, Grainger helps ensure you have everything you need close at hand through every step of the installation. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
In Louisiana, an officer is killed by friendly fire while attempting to serve a search warrant. In Texas, an arrest has been made after a man asked a 10-year-old girl to move his truck, resulting in the death of a 6-year-old. And in Ocala, Florida, a woman is arrested after perfume bottles become deadly weapons in a domestic dispute. These stories and more coming at you today, Friday, May 9th, on the Crime Wire, and I'm Jim Chapman.
And I'm Kelly Jennings.
KJ, we have got some headlines to go over today.
Things are getting wild.
It's been wild in the crime world, and we're going to start off in Rayne, Louisiana. Do you know where Rayne, Louisiana is?
I actually do.
Tell these listeners around where it's at.
It's that way.
Roughly.
So it's going to be past Lafayette.
Yeah.
And it's going to be before Lake Charles.
Cajun country.
Yeah.
A lot of crawfish in that area. Mm-hmm. And a lot of names that are Cajun, like the ones we're going to talk about today.
I was going to say, because Boudreaux's in my family and Thibodeau as well, but also that exit, I believe, when you go off the interstate, has frogs painted on it. I could be wrong, but I think it's a bunch of frogs that are painted on that exit.
There you go. So if you're in the Rayne area, look for frogs. But we have kind of a serious story here. Well, definitely a serious story. A Rayne police lieutenant was killed in the line of duty while executing a search warrant tied to a stabbing. Lieutenant Alan Nucci Crador, who is 48, was fatally shot by friendly fire at 1:27 p.m. on May 5th as officers attempted to locate a suspect involved in a stabbing incident. This according to the Rayne Police Department. Despite efforts to provide immediate medical aid, Crador did die at the scene. This is a devastating accident that has shaken the entire department and community. That from the police chief, Carol Stelly. Now, Crador began his career with Rayne as a reserve officer. This was in December of 2003, and he became full-time in 2005. Over the next 20 years, he became known not just for his police work, but also for his deep involvement in youth programs and community outreach. In 2014, he stepped into the role of a DARE officer. There, he mentored local students. He worked to strengthen the department's connection with Rayne's youth, and he also volunteered extensively with youth athletics, coaching, and guiding young people both on and off duty. The chief also went on to say that Lieutenant Crador was more than an officer. He was a brother, a friend, and a role model. He served with pride, humility, and unmatched sense of duty, and he had a special way of connecting with people, especially young people, which you'll see a lot with these DARE officers. Crador is survived by his fiancee, Danielle Demet, and his brother, Sergeant Joseph Crador, who actually works at the same department. The Louisiana State Police is conducting an investigation into the shooting. But Kelly, how does this happen?
Well, I haven't seen any, obviously it's brand new. So I haven't seen any body camera footage or anything like that. So I really don't logistically know what happened. But considering they said it was, friendly fire, warrant executions are dangerous in and of themselves. So I would assume that the presence that was there to begin with, he's not alone. He's going to be with other officers. I'm assuming, again, I have not seen body camera or anything like that, but I'm just guessing it was one of those reactions to something that happened, and it was just, probably a gut instinct reaction to draw the weapon into fire, and they missed each other somehow tactically. I'm not sure, honestly, what happened.
They could have been in each other's triangulation. And of course, we're just speculating. We don't know. Just a horrible accident. Obviously, they're going to investigate this through the Louisiana State Police. And I'm not saying, of course, this guy didn't intend to do this. And I'm sure nobody out there outside of the family feels worse than he does.
There's not going to be charges. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that because he's working well within the capacity of what he was supposed to be doing. He had a reason to be there. He had a right to be there. He was responding, like I said, to something he was assigned to go respond to, whomever this officer was. First of all, I want to say this. Absolute condolences to his this officer's fiance and to his brother, because undoubtedly this is all over the news and this has rocked their worlds, and this is something that nobody ever wants or expects to happen. And so just my hat's off to them for everything that they're going to have to go through right now. The officer that pulled the trigger, I'm sure, will be devastated for the rest of his life. I seriously doubt, based on what we know now, that there were any ill intentions whatsoever. I think it's going to be someone zigged and somebody zagged. And it just kind of is what it is. I'm sure that officer probably ran and rendered aid immediately upon realizing what happened, or somebody rendered aid. And I'm going to say I do not believe charges would be filed based on what I know right now, because there's no intent for there to be shots fired. I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that they were reacting to something that occurred already. I just think this is going to be a tragedy. Let's say this, we can all agree that, let's pray for everybody involved and hope that whatever happens, that there's some sort of moving forward and there's no hatred.
Amen to that.
All right, well, let's go over to Virginia, where a homeowner was charged with murder after shooting a high school teen during an attempted break-in, according to the sheriff. 2 surviving teens say they were filming a TikTok for a ding-dong ditch prank. A Virginia man was charged with murder after authorities say he shot a high school teen that he believed was trying to break into his house, though the surviving teens claimed they were filming a ding-dong ditch prank for TikTok. Tyler Chase Butler, 27 years old, was charged with second-degree murder in the shooting death of 18-year-old Michael Bosworth Jr. Butler also faces charges of malicious wounding and 2 counts of use of a firearm in commission of a felony. Legal experts say that the case will rest on whether Butler used the right amount of force and if he reasonably believed his life was in imminent danger. The individual facts are really going to shed light on, are the charges against Mr. Butler valid or unjust? Jessica Lettingham, a federal litigator and criminal defense attorney, said, adding that the charges would make sense if the teens were outside his home, where they are less likely to be perceived as a threat. Deputies responded around 3 a.m. Saturday to a call for a residential burglary in progress, where a resident had fired shots and found Bosworth and another teen with gunshot wounds. A third teen was found unharmed. Bosworth died of his injuries at the hospital, while the other injured teen was treated for minor injuries and released. Both surviving teens are juveniles and were not named publicly. The surviving teens told investigators they were recording themselves during a ding-dong ditch as part of a TikTok challenge. One of Butler's neighbors shared home surveillance footage that shows that the teens went up to Butler's home and were not only ringing the doorbell, but banging, kicking, and slamming on a garage door. Yeah, that's going to be a problem for me. But Jamie E. Wright, a Los Angeles trial attorney and founder of the Wright Law Firm, said that stand your ground or castle doctrine laws vary in each state, though most don't give blanket permission to use lethal force simply to protect property. Based on what's been reported, shooting at teenagers involved in a prank, even on one as reckless as late-night ding-dong ditch, is unlikely to meet that legal standard, Wright said. Social media challenges like this can certainly escalate tensions and lead to tragic misunderstandings, but they don't typically create a legal justification for deadly self-defense. Madeline Somerville, a national trial attorney and legal analyst, said the castle doctrine laws allow for use of deadly force to prevent an aggressor from entering your home if the homeowner truly believes their life is in danger. Every case is different, however, and the applicability of the castle doctrine in this case will rest upon whether the defendant truly believed he was in imminent danger of bodily harm or death, Somerville said. So I'm going to start here, that it's obviously improper and inappropriate at 3 o'clock in the morning to be banging on someone's house door, beating, ringing the doorbell, whatever. Because as a parent, if I heard that, I am not saying I would go shoot somebody, okay? But you're banging down my garage door or you're ringing my doorbell and my 3 children are in my home, my internal alarm is going to be off the chart.
I mean, I would certainly have been armed when I went out there. Now this guy's screwed, and I'll tell you why.
Yep.
He used way too much force. I would have went to that door probably armed and maybe would have even brandished a weapon, saying, get out of my yard. The problem here is, and this is pretty much the law in every state to my knowledge, if they're not in your house, you can't just start shooting people. These kids were playing a prank. I've done it. I didn't do it at 3 o'clock in the morning. I didn't take it to that level, but I've certainly, when I was a kid, knocked on somebody's door and ran. Now it was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
That's ding dong ditch. I have a few questions here. If we're just going to look at this from...
Yeah, they never ditched. They just ding-donged.
And then, okay, and this is the thing. I don't know this homeowner, right? I don't know anything about this homeowner, but let's go through some what-ifs, okay? What if this homeowner, what if Tyler Chase Butler, 27, and again, I don't know anything, but what if he was military? And what if he had just come back in? I'm just saying it's a mitigating circumstance that he could bring up. What if he had some type of PTSD and he went off the rails? Now, should you be shooting people? Absolutely not. No. And I'm not putting this in
killed somebody.
Yeah. And I don't want to make this seem like, because I said military something. But what if we don't know? What if his house had been broken into the week prior and he thought it was somebody coming back? We don't know all of the details here. However, I completely agree with you that this was an excessive use of force. They did not break entry. They did not come through the garage. He could have dialed 911, which I think would have been more reasonable. I don't know if he did or not. It doesn't say that here. There could have been a million other things that could have been done that would have been, I think, a better decision than using lethal force. But I would be interested to know, how long were they there banging on the doors? Did something possibly happen prior to this that made him feel like this was escalated? What if there was something going on in his personal life and someone said that they were out to get him? I mean, you don't know. You really don't.
You don't.
That's a
even
huge
with
leap.
all of those
I know
being true,
yeah,
he's still going to jail.
He is. He
broke the law.
Now,
I mean, is the bottom line.
We had a local case like this where someone, I don't remember if they wrecked or the car broke down or whatever, but they went up to the door and knocked. It was in the middle of the night, and the homeowner shot through the door and killed that person. And the homeowner was saying how afraid they were, and they thought that it was someone trying to break in. But the problem becomes, but they knocked on the door. They didn't break in. Simply knocking on a door does not justify that level of alarm. Because if that was the case, then anyone who knocked on your door, you could just shoot them. That right. It doesn't meet that muster. Now, the time of night is interesting to me. It's the middle of the night. I would have been totally alarmed. I absolutely would have been armed, but I don't see me pulling a trigger through an unbreached doorway. I just don't think that was the right move.
Sadly, the teenager that was killed was a star athlete at that high school, and this in their mind, and all these kids, they weren't juvenile delinquents. These were, according to all reports, good kids that were doing this just for TikTok views.
But he's also 18 years old, and I know
high school senior.
I know. I think at 18, you should know better than to go banging on doors at 3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. Well,
There's a lot of things I did at 18 I should have known better.
But, I'm not saying much. My mama might hear that. But
sad.
This
it's
is a
certainly
tragedy.
Sad for this teen's family, and our hearts and prayers go out to them for sure.
100%. One more thing I'll add to that too is, and I'm not taking up for the homeowner. I'm just trying to say, hey, you don't know. I am curious to what they were wearing.
Yeah, was it dark clothing?
Did they have masks on? Yeah.
It didn't mention that. I would have thought it would.
Yeah, I doubt
they did, but we'll keep everybody updated if something comes out on that. Let's go to California. And you mentioned frogs earlier, and this relates to a man known as Frog.
Oh, well, hey, tie that
was
in.
His nickname. So a California man known as Frog is facing charges on accusations that he sold fentanyl disguised as cocaine that left 4 friends. Yeah, let me say that again. Dead at a Super Bowl party. Mm-hmm. Frog, whose real name is Timothy Pennell, was arrested and charged with felony distribution of fentanyl on February 11th of 2024. That ought to spring somebody's mind as well. He just got arrested. This happened last year, over a year ago. A group of 5 friends gathered at a South Lake Tahoe home to throw a Super Bowl party. As the evening went on, the friends started to take what they thought was cocaine. I mean,
they thought they were doing uppers and they got some downer.
By morning, 4 of them were dead. According to the DA's office, when Pinnell allegedly realized that he supplied the friend group with fentanyl, he made multiple attempts to warn them. The investigation found he called them at least 17 times and drove to the neighborhood. So apparently he found this out after the fact, and he had already left, and he was calling them saying, don't do the cocaine. It's got fentanyl in it.
So he wasn't at the party. He drove.
I think he brought them the cocaine and then left.
You're responsible, bro.
Obviously, he was too late. About 9 a.m. on February 12th, South Lake Tahoe Police, beautiful area, by the way, received a 911 call reporting multiple overdoses at the home, and officers found 4 people dead. 2 of their bodies were found by the couch, a 3rd in the kitchen, and a 4th in the upstairs bedroom. A 5th unnamed person was taken to a hospital. That person survived. Quote, they were flat out poisoned and murdered. That from the mother of 2 of the victims. Katrina Joy was there that night. She's the wife of Clifford, but she didn't take any supposed cocaine. She fell asleep before they bought the drugs and recalled waking up the next morning, found all these people dead. She attempted CPR on her husband, instructed other survivors at this party. Apparently it was a big party, to do CPR on a different victim, called 911, etc. But he is in a shit pile of trouble, to say the least. And this man right here, regardless of the knowledge of this being fentanyl, doesn't make a difference.
No.
Doesn't matter. You're going to jail for the rest of your life, guys.
Listen here.
That's what I think.
Listen here. As someone who's lost a friend to fentanyl, and my friend had her struggles, and there's no doubt about that, but she didn't deserve to die. What she got, she did not think was fentanyl, and it killed her. And I don't give a damn what you think you're selling somebody. How about you stop selling the shit?
Yeah.
How about you just say no? And the other thing is this. To me, I'm more inclined to believe this cat was just trying to turn a dime. He got the money, and then he called him and said, oh, wait, never mind. Don't use that. That's got fentanyl in him. I'm not seeing this big moral turn. What'd you do? You called the person you got it from and said, oh, what? They called you and said, never mind, that's fentanyl? Like, what could have possibly happened there?
Yeah, that's a good question. They did trace his calls and see that he called them 17 times.
I don't care.
He was in a panic about something.
I don't care. You should have went right back to where you sold it. Knock on the door. Kick it down. Go ahead and call somebody. Get help en route. I don't give a damn. If you really cared that much, I'm so serious right now. I'm being so for real. If you cared that much, those 17 calls, I'm going to be curious about the timeline of those 17 calls.
Yeah.
You wanted to make that money. I don't give a shit what you thought you were selling them, because you shouldn't have been selling anything in the first place.
Right.
And when people die as a result of it, I'm not victim blaming right now, because they wouldn't have had it had there not been a supplier. So call your mama. Tell her to put some money in your books, because that's about all you're getting. All right. Now, let's roll over to Texas.
Texas.
All right. Now.
Love Texas.
I do too. My sister lives in Texas. Shout out. All right.
All my exes live in Texas.
Texas is a place I really love.
I just like that song.
Okay. The ADD is wilding out right now. All right. So this is the reality, though, of what happened in Texas. A man is accused of telling his 10-year-old to drive his pickup truck, resulting in a crash that killed a 6-year-old. Wow. A man in Texas has been arrested after he allegedly told a 10-year-old girl to drive his pickup truck, which resulted in the death of a 6-year-old boy. The Angelina County Sheriff's Office arrested Clinton Earl Johnson Jr., 31 years old. The crash happened on Sunday. According to an arrest affidavit, Johnson told a 10-year-old girl to move his Nissan Titan pickup truck after she complained that the vehicle was in her way while riding a tricycle. As the girl was moving the truck, she lost control and accidentally drove it into the porch, hitting a 6-year-old boy, and he later died at a hospital. The boy who was killed in the crash was Johnson's stepson. The boy's mother told investigators that her son was sitting on the porch using her phone while Johnson was grilling. She said that the 10-year-old girl was riding a tricycle and said the pickup truck was in her way. The woman said Johnson told the girl to scoot it up. According to the affidavit, Johnson said the girl had driven the pickup truck on back roads before. The investigator reported the smell of alcohol from the mother and Johnson, and they both said they had 3 or 4 drinks, which I'm going to tell you right now meant they had 5 to 7.
Right.
while grilling, according to the affidavit. Johnson is charged with state jail felony criminally negligent homicide.
That's a lot.
Wow, yeah. Where he was held on a $3,000 bond until he bonded out Wednesday. This much I can tell you. Ignorance has no bounds.
No, and I have had a few drinks in my day, and I've been grilling and had a few drinks in my day, and never once when I've been grilling and having a few drinks and I needed a car moved did I think about giving my 10-year-old the keys. Never once. Did you notice they said he drove on back roads before? You got your 10-year-old,
Yeah.
You got your 10-year-old daughter driving on back roads?
You know, all right, now.
10 years old.
You know,
And I know back in the 20s and 30s, they used to put them on tractors, and maybe some people in the 80s, there's probably some people listening right now. I used to drive at 10. Well, I ain't giving no 10-year-old in this generation keys to a car.
hell no. I barely gave my 17-year-old keys to
Here, move my truck. I couldn't imagine. Never have I even had that thought.
I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know if maybe she had moved the cars before in the past and he thought that this would be no different. I don't know. I mean, I would.
And with a 6-year-old even in the vicinity, man.
Right. Yeah.
It's just so awful.
Yeah, that was bad. That was a bad move. Now, did he have any intent or think that was going to happen? Obviously not. But you still have a responsibility as the adult and as someone who knew that this was a child, that should not be driving a vehicle.
It's definitely negligent homicide. I mean, I can see him. You can't hold the 10-year-old responsible, obviously.
No.
So that the parent not handed those keys over, that wouldn't have happened. That's the bottom line. That's how a jury's going to look at that, or how a prosecutor is going to prosecute that case.
I wonder why mom didn't intervene and say, no, don't do that.
She was as drunk as he was, sounds like. They both admitted to having, like you say, and you're right. If they said 3 to 4, it was 7 to 10.
Yeah.
You know how that goes.
Yeah.
So, in a tragedy, and of course, we're not making fun of that, but a stupid, dumbass decision here. And I'm sure, I would hope that nobody feels that more than they do right now. I can't even say, well, I can kind of understand. I don't.
No.
I don't.
10 years old is 5th grade, man.
5th grade. And you got a 6-year-old running around.
Yeah, that was a bad move there.
Yeah.
That was pretty bad.
All right. Well, let's lighten it up a little bit, KJ.
Okay.
We're going to go to Florida.
I love Florida.
We're not going to the beach, though. Well, I don't know. Is Ocala beach area? No, that's more like Orlando, Disney area. Okay. Well, we're going to go to Ocala, Florida, and I'm going to tell you about a 21-year-old who she used an interesting weapon in a domestic dispute. So she gets arrested, and this is after she allegedly threw perfume bottles at another woman during that dispute. Her name is Aaliyah Marie Burton Watson. And let me tell you, before I go any further, I read that name, and I'm like, why does she have 4 names? Why do you use 4 names?
Is it hyphenated?
Yes.
Is this too?
Aaliyah Marie Burton Watson. And the Burton Watson is hyphenated. So I guess Marie's her middle name and her last name is Burton-Watson.
Well, Burton's probably her maiden name, and then Watson's probably her married name.
Probably. But I mean, I don't know. Can you hyphenate your married and?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe look, whatever, 4 names. She was charged with simple domestic battery after the incident. It happened on 4 p.m. last Monday at her residence, and the victim actually lived at the same residence she did. The victim told the Marion County Sheriff's deputy that Burton Watson threw the bottles at her, pulled her hair, and pushed her.
Wait, this is a domestic. Are they lovers?
It don't say that. It could be sisters. I mean, it don't say.
Well, I'm just curious.
I mean, maybe they were.
Because it looks to me now like she left her husband. They divorced, and now she got with a woman. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
What if it's her sister? and a roommate.
Well, then where's her husband if her name is hyphenated?
I'll let you know if they're lovers. I have
Okay.
no idea. But Burton Watson did admit to pushing the victim. She did not admit to throwing perfume bottles and pulling her hair. And she was determined by the sheriff that responded to the scene as the primary aggressor, placed under arrest. She was taken to jail. And get this, she does get released on bond. You want to hear what her bond amount was?
Yeah.
$150.
Well,
What kind of bond amount is that?
I guess
Because you only got to make 10% of that.
Yeah.
If you don't have $150, you call a bail bondsman, and what is 10% of $15? Yeah.
I think that's more.
I'm gonna give you $15 if you bail me out.
First of all, what perfume?
Pretty sure they won't do $150.
What perfume
bond.
did she throw? Because perfume's expensive.
Right.
Okay, and so I feel like that's a waste right there of resources. But secondly,
And then she pulled her hair.
you pull
What if
my
she had
hair.
extensions in
I'm
her
gonna
hair?
shove that bottle of perfume up your ass. You pull my hair. Yeah, I
What if
don't
she
know.
just had her extensions done?
Maybe.
I mean, I know those are expensive. My daughters get them extensions.
My hair is so nappy and curly. If I put extensions in, Lord, I'd have a one big dread in the back.
Well, she's doing court August 4th in Marion County, so we'll keep you updated on if she gets any jail time for this. But the $150 bond really threw me for a loop.
That's kind of say it was a simple domestic battery. I didn't know there was I didn't know it could be simple.
Yeah. I guess that's a misdemeanor domestic battery.
Well, so what
It's
I'm
what they call misdemeanors, maybe.
Well, so what I'm saying here though is that's why the bond is so low, because they're kind of like, you were being dumb and it was bad enough that we need to slap you on the wrist, but you can go back home.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen a bond that, I'm sure obviously they exist, but.
Keep your perfume on the damn counter.
Right.
All right, now this one's actually sad. Okay, I'm taking this one personal because you know I'm an animal lover.
Oh, God. I call you the bird lady of Alcatraz.
Listen, I love me some animals. So now we're going to go to Oregon, where a seal pup was stabbed multiple times, and Noah is seeking to track down a person of interest. An elephant seal pup suffered multiple stab wounds in an attack at an Oregon beach, prompting the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration to launch a search for a person of interest. The NOAA's Office of Law Enforcement said this week that the incident happened on March 16th in Niskowin, Oregon, I believe is how you would say that, along a stretch of shoreline in front of the Proposal Rock condominiums. While the young elephant seal survived, it sustained multiple stab wounds. The Marine Stranding Team monitored and evaluated the animal before relocating it. The agency released a sketch of a person of interest described as a white male, approximately 5 foot 10 inches tall, with a standard build, black and white hair, a groomed beard, and a large gap between his front teeth. Citing a witness, they added that the individual was wearing a black cap with a flat front and a logo depicting an orange 4-track excavator with the word timber. We're also seeking information about the owner of a vehicle that may be associated with the person of interest, describing it as a cluttered-looking dark blue 1990s Dodge or Chrysler van that had the rear passenger window on the driver's side covered in plastic. Okay, I'm figuring out a lot right now just knowing about what the hell they're driving. Following the attack, the seal's wounds were healing. It had grown to about 300 pounds, and there were no signs of that the stabbing was going to have lasting effects. Michael
300 pounds?
Damn.
That's a big seal.
That's a big baby.
That's a big seal.
Thank God they have a lot of blubber.
Yeah, that's probably what saved it.
For real. The seal that was stabbed likely left its mother very recently and was on its way to learn to hunt. Once it had grown a bit more, it would have likely made its way back to breeding areas around the Channel Islands off Southern California. The harassing, harming, killing, or feeding wild elephant seals is prohibited under the Marine Mammal Protection Act, and violations can be prosecuted civilly or criminally and are punishable by up to $100,000 in fines and up to 1 year in jail per violation.
And that really is awful. I mean, you're trying to kill a seal, and what struck me in what you just said is you were describing what's illegal, and one of the things you said was harassing a seal. How do you harass a seal?
Listen.
And I'm not laughing at the article. I think it's terrible. But
It is terrible. I'm not a smart woman, okay? And I never claim to be the smartest person in the room, but I'm not going to screw with a big old elephant seal. I'm not going to harass it. I'm not even going to talk shit to it. I'm just going to be like, what's up, big guy? And keep moving. You know why? Those things can hurt you.
Yeah.
So that poor little thing, though,
Well, big thing.
No.
It's 300 pounds, KJ.
It's a baby. It's a
big baby.
Why the hell you got a flat front bill? I'm mad at you with your flat front hat on the bill, and you're going to go just run up and just start slicing and dicing an animal. I think that we should measure society not only by how it treats its young and its elderly, but also how it treats animals. Animals that, you know,
I agree.
They're not doing anything to you, and even if they were, run.
Yeah,
it's a 300-pound blob. Run. You went over there and you were an asshole. Sorry.
Yeah, they're just doing it for kicks, but still harassing a seal. Could you see if you got arrested for that and you were in a holding tank with all these badass dudes and they're like, what are you in for? And you're like, I harassed a seal.
No, but this would be me. You also can't feed them. And I would go to jail for that.
You would totally
go to jail. What are you in for? Well, I had a ham sandwich and me and Jethro over there were sharing it.
You'd take it home with you.
I would, and then I'd
Blake, I got a new seal.
Look, I'd fight that man with that knife, too, over that seal. Leave that thing alone.
I know you would. I'll tell you a quick story.
Okay.
You know, one time I did almost get in a fight. I was probably,
with
heck, I was still in my other career. So I was probably mid-30s. And I was at one of the stores that my other career we owned. And a guy was in the parking lot and there was a duck and he was kicking the duck. The duck was apparently injured. And so one of its legs was injured and he was like just soccer kicking it. Just like an asshole. And I went out there and I told him, why don't you soccer kick me like that? Because I'll whip that ass.
Yeah.
He didn't say nothing. He got in his car and left. But literally stopped his car in the parking lot, got out and started kicking the seal. Started kicking the duck.
I just cannot listen. I found a baby squirrel one time.
Me like that.
You know about my little squirrel that I found. That little sucker had his eyes closed and everything. And I got up every 4 hours and fed that thing with a dropper and raised it up right. Pee-wee was a freaking G. And then there's people out there that are just going to go up to an animal and stab it or kick it.
Right.
You're mean. And I don't have room for you.
I agree. Well, we're going to go. Look, I'm going to call this the Scam Syndicate. And this little jewel of a segment is going to feature scams that you need to be aware of. Because there's a lot of them going around right now. You
know what? One of my friends, real quick, you haven't even read this yet, but one of my friends called me yesterday, got scammed out of $13,500.
Happens all the time with
Makes me sick.
Especially the elderly. They're getting really attacked right now. But look, I know some 30-year-olds that get scammed. So police issued a warning this week over a new scam that is targeting customers of America's biggest banks. Police are warning the public about a new scam in which criminals pose as representatives from major U.S. banks, and they trick the victims into handing over their money. The scammers are sending out text messages, and those texts appear to come from institutions like Bank of America, PNC Bank, Wells Fargo, big people. And they're claiming there's an issue with the recipient's account. So the message instructs the victim to either call a number or wait for an incoming call from someone posing as a bank representative. Now, when the call happens, the scammer appears to have access to the victim's personal banking information. They have things like recent transaction history, and it makes the interaction look legit. So once they establish trust with this person, the fraudster instructs the victim to secure their funds by withdrawing cash and then depositing it into a traditional or cryptocurrency ATM, which right now is
That's what happened to my friend.
Problem. It happens all over the place.
I wasn't prepared for you to say that. That's exactly what happened to my friend.
And then they also say, well, you could purchase gift cards for us as well. The scammer then steals the deposited funds or gift card information. In just 1 week, several victims in Maryland lost a total combined amount of $95,000 to the scam. Authorities in Washington and Pennsylvania have also received reports of similar fraudulent text. And so they're urging the public, just don't respond to the text. Now, one of the text messages a victim in Maryland received said, Wells Fargo alerts, and then it said, we've received a request to transfer $730 via Zelle. So the person usually replies with, yes, that was me, or no. And this particular victim replied no, because it wasn't her, and was told their account was locked and a representative would call them shortly. And then that scammer called And when it was all said and done, this person got scammed. So the moral to the story here is if you get a text from a bank, it's not legit. Because they're not going to text you. They're going to call you. And then the second thing I want to add to that is always go into your bank and talk to a representative before you ever start transferring shit.
Yep.
Go into your bank. Now, maybe you just bank online and you don't have access to a human. Mm-hmm. Well, go on the legit website. Don't click a link, but go to wellsfargo.com and they're going to give you a 1-800 number and you call them. Yeah. Don't ever follow these texts. And people with money transactions aren't going to text you.
Right. And then something else, too, that's happening is that these scammers are also mimicking the websites of the actual banks or other entities. And so when you search it, you would expect, like Chase Bank, for example, that you would expect when you type in Chase Bank, that would be the number one that would pop up. And then people click that and they go and they put in their login information. Well, you have to verify that you are actually on the actual website you need to be on because you put in your information, they've got it.
Well, if you'll remember, a lot of people have been getting, and I got this text, a lot of people have been getting the text regarding the toll booth text.
Yep.
Where it says you
I got it yesterday.
Forgot to pay your tolls. Yeah, I get it all the time. I've got it like 4 times. This is such bullshit, but do you know that people are still, as much as it is out there, people are still clicking on that thing and supposedly paying a toll.
Yeah.
That's BS, y'all. They'll send you something in the mail.
Oh, look, here it is right here, the toll violation. I just pulled it up on my phone right here. This is your final notice regarding it, your unpaid balance of $6.
Your final notice.
My final notice.
You're going to Alcatraz.
Come and get me, baby. But that's what I tell anybody is that if anyone, and especially if they claim to be law enforcement, that's a big one. Well, then you have my address. Come get me. That needs to be your response.
Or go up to the police station.
Exactly. You know, if someone is ever going to call you, the police are never going to call and threaten you by phone if they need to come get you.
Right.
They're the frickin' police, you know?
Yeah.
So
they're just going to come.
And then if they show up, be like, oh, my bad. And just, just take a free ride.
Right. Exactly. Crazy.
Well, speaking of some crazy shit, Jennifer Aniston. We all know Jennifer Aniston, right?
Friends.
Yeah, from Friends.
Was she your favorite friend?
You know, no, she was not my favorite friend.
She was mine.
Chandler was my favorite friend.
Oh.
I love Chandler.
Yeah.
Now I know we got some.
It was so sad that he died.
I know, but that's a whole different story another day. But Jennifer Aniston, Stalker, shoots a chilling glare during a bizarre shirtless court appearance after he crashed shirtless. And let me tell you guys.
He must be buff.
No, actually, he's not. But he did crash his car into her $21 million mansion.
20.
So he made this bizarre shirtless appearance in court days after he was arrested for crashing his car through the front gates of her $21 million mansion, and she was inside whenever it happened. Jimmy Wayne Carwile, if that doesn't sound like...
He's got a great name.
God, that sounds like a stalker. Jimmy Wayne Carwile, 48 years old, shot cameras chilling glares and smiles as he appeared behind glass in a custody area of a Los Angeles courtroom while wrapped in an anti-suicide blanket to face felony stalking and vandalism charges on Thursday. Aniston was home when Carwile crashed his Chrysler PT Cruiser through the gate of her home. God,
anybody that drives a PT Cruiser got to be a stalker.
I mean, dadgum. In a wealthy Bel Air neighborhood, a security guard stopped him in her driveway and held him at gunpoint before police arrived and arrested him. There were no reports of anyone being injured. Carwile is also accused of sending Aniston unwanted social media, voicemail, and email messages starting back in March of 2023, with the last message sent on the same day of the crash. Mississippi man Carwile, he didn't enter a plea or speak at all during the arraignment hearing, but intently stared at the courtroom and placed his hands on the glass during the hearing. It was determined he must go through mental health court to determine whether he's competent to face the charges against him. Judge Keith Schwartz doubted whether Carwile would understand him when a prosecutor requested that the defendant, who will remain in jail, be ordered not to go near Aniston. Carwile's lawyer, Deputy Public Defender Toril Malik, said, I don't believe him staying away from Miss Aniston will be an issue at this time. But at a prosecutor's insistence, Schwartz issued the order anyway. You're not to have contact with Jennifer Aniston under any conditions, the judge said. He was also ordered to stay at least 100 yards away from her home. Judge Schwartz set bail at $150,000 and called for the next hearing to take place at the mental health court in Hollywood on May 22nd. A friend of Carwell said, "My hopes were that someone somewhere would see this and get him the help that he needs. Jimmy is a good man, but his drug use caused him mental instability. I pray that this thing that Jimmy Carwell has done gets enough attention, that he gets the help he needs. Please be in prayer for Jimmy, that the Lord work all this out for his good." Los Angeles District Attorney Nathan Hochman said in a news release, "Stalking is a crime that can quickly escalate from harassment to dangerous, violent actions threatening the safety of victims and our communities. Social media posts allegedly from Carwell have also been unearthed following the crash. It hasn't been confirmed if the account is associated with the suspect or an individual with the same name, and the posts appear to have been taken down. Several posts referred to Aniston as his bride, including one posted in October allegedly referring to the actress as Jennifer Aniston Carwell." That's not creepy at all.
And folks, if you see this guy, we'll have to figure out a way to post this somewhere. Yeah. But he is the stalker.
He's exactly
what you're thinking in your head right now is exactly what he looks like.
Yes. Another post allegedly said that he and Aniston would be mended together before incoherently drawing comparisons to Adam and Eve. That's scary to me on a real level, because when religiousness gets mixed with
he's
stalking and drugs.
Yeah, he's crazy.
Yeah, I don't like that. The district attorney's office accused him of repeatedly harassing the victim and added that the harassment culminated when he crashed his car through the front gate, causing substantial damage and stopped in her driveway. They held him at gunpoint, as I already said. And Aniston was home at the time of the crash, but never came in contact with the suspect. Now, let me tell you something real quick. I'm going to give you a visual. He is in his little turtle suit, or in his suicide type suit that's got only Velcro to be able to close it up. He's got it pulled down right below his chesticles there, and he's got a gray and white beard and mustache, and then this curly gray and white hair. But the look in his eyes, I can only describe as like shark eyes. It's a blank stare at you, and then he just has his hand up against the glass like, hello,
like
Clarice.
A crazy person. Yeah, he is definitely
he needs help
eating fava beans and all that sort of stuff wherever he's at.
I totally agree with the prosecutor on that one, and that he needs to be given some type of clearance before they.
And look, we we're laughing at him, but the fact of the matter is this is pretty serious, and I'm sure Jennifer Aniston was totally freaked out. They just had an incident. I mean, Taylor Swift gets them all the time. She's had pretty close calls. Sandra Bullock also just had a situation. I don't know how recent this was, but I came across the 911 call where a stalker broke into her house with her there. She heard a loud noise. Now, get this. She's got so much money, she had a safe room, and she was calling the police from in that safe room, and they're like, "Were you somewhere safe?" And she says, "Oh, you ain't getting in here."
Yeah.
But she had like cameras that she could see all over the house, and the door on this safe room was like a vault door.
God,
you weren't getting it open.
But if your children were home and she has kids.
Oh, there's no doubt. And I mean, you've got a $21 million mansion. I mean, hopefully she had security there, and he didn't get to her. So there must have been some sort of deterrent that kept him from doing that. But it is a serious issue with. And
I don't care if you're rich and you have a mansion, or if you're just an average Joe. When someone breaches that security and safety of your home, the place that's yours, that no one's supposed to be there but you, that is unnerving on a level that's just, unreal. If you've ever been burglarized, you know what that feels like, to have a stranger inside your house.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Really
so, and then when you take it to the point that you're willing to drive a vehicle, that could have killed somebody, and then you smash through the front gate of someone's home, you're nuts.
Oh, yeah. He's nuts. He's definitely off his rocker.
Yeah.
So anyway, you got to check that out, folks. You got to see the picture. And one thing we have not gotten to today, but we're recording this on Friday the 9th. Mm-hmm. And this weekend is Mother's Day.
Yay!
Sunday is Mother's Day. We're going to have a little fun with KJ real quick, since she's a mother.
Are we?
A proud mother. And we're going to talk about some statistics, some fun facts. I love my fun facts.
Okay.
So I got some fun facts on Mother's Day, and I'm going to discuss these with KJ, see if she knows some of these.
Oh, God, I wasn't ready for this. I'm going to look stupid.
How many phone calls do you think are placed for Mother's Day specifically to mothers across the nation anyway.
And across the nation on Mother's Day?
Yeah.
1 billion. Because...
Well, there's not a billion people in the country.
But you might have multiple... You know, have a mom and a stepmom, and you might be making multiple calls to multiple women.
Well, you would be
and
off
your
by a little bit.
And your grandma.
Well, they're only counting mothers.
Oh, well, I didn't know that.
122 million phone calls specifically to mom on Mother's Day. So that is about half of the population. A little less than half.
I expected
think there's 350 million people total.
I still expected more. I'm dumb. I don't know.
What do you think the top Mother's Day gift is?
Flowers.
Nope. Greeting card.
Oh.
Y'all should have seen her face.
You can't mail flowers, I guess. And if you live away from your mom, you can mail a card. Oh, my sweetheart got me a hour and a half massage.
That's a good one.
That's a real good one. Mama wants that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll take your flowers. Thank you.
And so that's your top Mother's Day gift. Now, it was made official on May 9th of 1914. And a lady named Anna Jarvis, she actually started Mother's Day to honor mothers after the Civil War. Now, this was well after the Civil War, so it was, I don't know where the reference is there, but shout out to Anna Jarvis, who made it to where you get those massages every year.
Anna, you my girl.
That's right.
Thank you so much, Anna.
Now, what do you think the busiest restaurant day of the year is?
The busiest restaurant day of the year?
Yeah.
Like one day?
Yeah. What day is busier than any other to go?
Well, I mean, we're doing something about Mother's Day. Are you about to say Mother's Day?
It is Mother's Day. That's great. If you'd have got that wrong, I'd have been like, but yes,
what if
that
I was
is
like April 14th with perfect weather.
If you're in the restaurant industry, Mother's Day is where you make that money. And it's also why I never take my wife out to eat and kids on Mother's Day, because good luck getting a table unless you think ahead, which I do not.
Listen, I am just so
last minute Jim
kind-hearted that I decided to give birth to one of my children on Mother's Day. So we always are
Did you really?
Yes. So we're always celebrating a child's birthday on Mother's Day.
What's the best gift that you've gotten on Mother's Day? And I know they're all good, but is there something that sticks out?
Yes, I'm an act of service person. I like that. And when people help me clean my house, when I come home to a clean house, woo, that's why we got 3 kids, people.
That's interesting. You know that is mothers request 2 things in particular for Mother's Day. One is house cleaning.
Oh, wow.
So you're in a lot of company there. And the other is they want to get out of the house.
Yeah.
Many of them. So there you have that. Now, Americans will spend $31 billion on Mother's Day. That's a lot.
Good. I mean, you ever been in labor?
$31 billion would it be, girl?
Jim, you ever been in labor?
No.
Okay, then shut up.
The official flower, what do you think it is for Mother's Day?
I think it would be the rose. Let me tell you why, though.
Okay.
If it's coming from the daddy, it's because the daddy loves the mama, hopefully, and so he would buy roses. Now, if the kids are involved, I feel like it would be more along the lines of like a carnation-y type flower.
You have it right with carnation.
No way!
Actually, that is the official flower, and the same lady, Anna Jarvis, came up with that, too.
I am so proud of myself.
She gave carnations to all the moms in her church, and that became kind of the official flower.
You go, Anna.
Anna was all about the moms. Mother's Day is also the 3rd most attended church service. What do you think the other 2 are? Gosh, you got to know this one, KJ.
Christmas and Easter, I would think.
But what order?
The order they come on the calendar.
Well, what's number 1? Number 1 is actually Easter.
I would say it was Easter because he's risen, and that he overcame
and then
the
Christmas
world.
number 2 and
And
Mother's
then-
Day number 3.
Yep.
You're good at these. So there it is. Happy Mother's Day, KJ, and to all the mothers. I know there's a lot of you listening Us guys, we suck. I mean, look,
No, you don't.
mothers outwork guys any day of the week. There's no doubt about it because they do the work and then they do the work. So they
Listen.
go home and take care of all that. Typically, I mean, we as fathers do some things, but nobody can beat a mother.
I think that moms and dads have very specific roles that they play, and I love that about the way that we're designed. I think that it's wonderful. I want to be the nurturer. I want to be the one that's there for my kids. I want to hug them and kiss them, but I also want their daddy to go straight beast mode when it's time to go beast mode.
That's right. That's our job. We just beat everybody up.
That's right. Or threaten them.
That's it. All right. We hope y'all enjoyed this episode. We'll see you next time
On Crime Wire Weekly.